Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Direct Advisors Retirement Plan podcast series. My name is Stacy Gregory. I'm a plan advisor with Direct Advisors, and today I'm going to help you make sense of the multitude of disclosures and notices that you're required to provide to your participants and their beneficiaries. And there's all sorts of different documents you need to provide, and many of them have different deadlines. So we'll take a look at some of the most important disclosures, their deadlines, who they need to be provided to, and your options for distributing them. Now, in regards to the method of distribution, you can provide them as hard copies or electronically. If you're providing hard copies, you can mail them to the employee's address or provide them a copy in person. Just make sure you keep a record of all the documents that were provided and the method of distribution. If you're looking to save some money or save some trees, you can provide a copy via email or electronically. The Department of Labor recently announced on May 21st, 2020, that there will be changes to electronic delivery requirements, and they're enhancing the ability to provide required documents electronically. The changes are going to take effect 60 days from its publication in the Federal Register, and they include really two main changes. The first is website posting. Plan administrators can post covered documents on a website as long as appropriate notification of internet availability is furnished to the electronic addresses of the covered individuals. And second is email delivery. Alternatively, plan administrators can send covered documents directly to the electronic addresses of covered individuals, with the covered documents either in the body of the email or as an attachment to the email. And with these two changes, there are some protections for employees being introduced as well. These new safe harbor changes include a variety of protections. The first is the right to paper. Covered individuals can request paper copies of either specific documents, or they can globally opt out of electronic delivery entirely. And they can do this at any time, completely free of charge. Next is initial notification. So covered individuals must be furnished an initial notification on paper that the way they currently receive plan disclosures is going to change. The notice must inform them of the new electronic delivery method and the electronic address that's going to be used, as well as the right to opt out if they prefer paper disclosures. Now, the notice must be given to them before the plan can use this new safe harbor. Next is notifications of internet availability. Covered individuals generally must be furnished a notice of internet availability, sometimes abbreviated NOIA, and they must be provided this each time a new covered document is made available for review on the internet website. Next is website retention. So covered documents must remain on an internet website until superseded by a subsequent version, but in no event for less than 1 year. Next is the system check for invalid electronic addresses. Plan administrators must ensure that the electronic delivery system is designed in a way to alert them if a participant's electronic address is either invalid or inoperable. In that case, the administrator must attempt to promptly cure the problem or treat the participant as opting out of electronic delivery. And lastly is system check at termination of employment. So when someone leaves their job, the plan administrator must take steps to ensure the continued accuracy and operability of that person's employer-provided electronic address. So now that we've covered the methods of distribution, I just want to summarize this by saying there's some more information that needs to be learned before you implement these changes. And all this information is detailed on the Department of Labor's website. So if this is a change you're looking to make sure you learn more and work with your vendors and advisors before implementing. Now, what sort of documents do you need to provide? First are the documents that need to be provided to newly eligible employees. Each plan has different requirements for when an employee becomes eligible to contribute to the plan. But once those eligibility requirements are met, you'll need to provide a copy of the summary plan description, aka the SPD, the fee disclosure and comparative chart, and the qualified default investment alternative notice. It's also a good idea to provide a copy of the enrollment paperwork or the full enrollment guide if you have one available. These documents must be provided within 90 days of the employee becoming eligible. And second are the required annual disclosures that go out once a year. These include things like the Summary Annual Report, or SAR, the Fee Disclosure Notice, the Qualified Default Investment Alternative, sometimes referred to as the QDIA Notice, if applicable, a Safe Harbor Notice, and for other plans like simple 401ks or 403b plans, there are separate notices for these as well. These notices need to be provided to all eligible employees and beneficiaries of the plan, regardless of whether or not they're making contributions or have a balance. The following notices are sent annually. First, that Summary Annual Report, sometimes referred to as that SAR. This needs to be provided within 9 months after the close of the plan year or 2 months after the Form 5500 filing deadline, if that's later. Next, the Fee Disclosure Notice and Comparative Chart should be provided within 14 months of the date it was last sent. Third, the Qualified Default Investment Alternative Notice should be provided within 30 to 90 days before the start of each new plan year. If applicable, a Safe Harbor Notice should be sent, which details the company's Safe Harbor contribution and vesting requirements. This may need to be provided if you're making a Safe Harbor contribution. So if necessary, this should be sent within 30 to 90 days before the start of each new plan year. And as I mentioned, if you're offering a simple 401k, you'll have a separate simple notice. And if you have a 403b plan, you'll provide a separate universal availability notice. There's obviously a lot of notices here, so work with your vendors to ensure that you're sending the appropriate notices each year. And the disclosures that we just covered, like I said, need to be sent each year, but there's additional disclosures as well, and those need to be sent if there's an applicable event or association with a certain event. So, for example, an SMM, or a Summary of Material Modification. This describes amendments and changes to the summary plan description, and it needs to be provided if the plan is making any changes. It's provided within 210 days after the close of the plan year in which the change was adopted. But be careful though, because this notice needs to be provided within 60 days of the change if there's a material reduction in a plan's covered services or benefits. Next is the Fee Change Notice, which needs to be provided if there's a change to the fees. And this should be sent 30 to 90 days prior to the change taking effect. Next is the Investment Fund Lineup Change Notice, and this is sent when investments are added, removed, or replaced. And this should be sent 30 to 90 days prior to the change taking effect. Lastly is a blackout notice for when a plan needs to temporarily shut down trading during something like a move to a new third-party administrator, for example. This notice should be provided 30 to 60 days in advance of the blackout. One other disclosure worth mentioning is the employee's quarterly statement, and it's provided to those in participant-directed accounts. While not typically the plan sponsor's job to send it out, I mean, you are responsible for making sure it's provided, but typically it's not sent by the plan sponsor. It's typically sent by the record keeper associated with your plan. So make sure you check with them to ensure that that's being provided on a quarterly basis to participants in those participant-directed accounts. As you can see, there are many disclosure requirements, but you can always rely on the team at Direct Advisors to help walk you through your plan's particular requirements. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach us by phone at 518-362-2119 or by email at info@directadvisors.com.